Uh, my name my name is Michael Hernandez. I'm one of the other trainer for this spring applicant class. Nice to gonna get to know everybody. I have refereed lacrosse for about 12 years, also just like Chris. Um, I am the downstate representative for the DLOA. So if during the season you have any questions or concerns, and you can't get a hold of Greg, you can get a hold of me. It's just to help take some stuff off of Greg's plate and JP's plate, or a signer. So any questions you have throughout the season, rules, or just in general, you can always shoot them my way. I recently became a DLOA official, which is in the college ranks this year, which I'm very excited about. We'll start in about 2 weeks. I'm privileged that Greg has trusted me and Petrone to do this training for you guys.
Great, thank you. Greg, we'll wait and do you last since you have
I'll
some
go
other
last.
words. Jamie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jamie. I refed, I think, 1 season of high school. The other seasons I've done 4 for Mike with the youth. And I'm excited to be here.
Great, thank you for being here. Coach Fairclough, Mr. Fairclough. Matt, you there? Okay. Nino.
Hi, I'm Nino DiRienzo. I have never played lacrosse. I'm a 13+ year soccer official, girls lacrosse official, 4 years, and this is my first, trying to learn the sport, the boys game.
Great, welcome, thank you. And Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Butler. I'm refed a little bit of lacrosse here and there. I played in college, played in high school. I'm currently the head coach at Bohemian Manor High School as well. So I'm just looking to help out as much as I can.
Great, welcome. Matt, can you hear us? You want to introduce yourself? I have concerns about Matt. All right, we'll let him introduce himself later if he can hear us. Matt, if you can hear us, let us know. Greg, go ahead.
Can you let me share the screen real quick? Put my put something up for a second.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I'll make you the host. You're gonna have to give the host back to me before you leave, though.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. All right, I'm just going to throw up a couple of slides real quick. So anyway, what's going on here? So my name is Greg Bulger. I have the honor for, I don't even know how long it's been now, to be the president of the DLOA, and kind of guide our group along. It's a very good group. And we have grown along with lacrosse here in Delaware. So I've been officiating lacrosse. I think this is my 15th year. And before that, I coached at the youth and high school varsity level. I never formally played, but I took it up when I moved to Maryland. I love the sport, and I just as an official, I love being a part of the sport. And my philosophy is, the lacrosse, especially in Delaware, is the DLOA is only as good as we are. So it's very important that we're very good officials, very good stewards of the game. So the DLOA is the exclusive assigning authority for lacrosse in the state of Delaware. You'll learn more about that later, but I just wanted to share some successes that we had in the last year. I kind of like to look back every year. So we assigned over 800 games for the Delaware Interscholastic Athletic Association. Our officials are responsible in covering multiple summer and fall recruiting tournaments, youth tournaments, some very high level tournaments. We have grown along with the Chase Field House, or the Sixers Field House up here in the Wilmington area, where they now have multiple leagues. We also, this year, were the first association to have officials formally trained in the sixes format of lacrosse, and Nino participated in that, and so did Mike. Sixes is the style that they're going to use if they bring the Olympics or the game to the Olympics. It's very fast. It doesn't involve many face-offs, fewer players on the field, a shot clock. So we were the first group to actually be trained and covered what we think was kind of the first national team level of true sixes lacrosse. And we did a holiday tournament. This year we did have 2 of our members invited to present at LaxCon in Baltimore. Our assigner, JP Bennett, is on the NFHS rules committee. So that's quite an honor. It gives us a little insight. And then Mike mentioned that this was his first year in DLOA, so he was invited to try out, and he did very well. And he will now be officiating college games, and that gives us a total of 7 officials in our group who are doing NCAA games, and we have a couple others. One of them we're looking at who's probably ready when he's able or wants to make the jump. Chris Petrone. It's a good thing. It's an honor to have those guys in our group. It helps us be better. And the only problem with it is, we lose those officials a couple days a week to do college games. So that's why it's so important to keep training more officials. So I'm very excited about our group. For me, your thing right now should be focusing on this class. I do want to invite you to our other meetings, and I'll put these up here and then I'll throw them up in the chat before I leave. You're invited to any of these meetings you want to come to, including this Sunday at the DE Turf. We'll do some on-field training. It's certainly not required because, like I said, the focus should be on getting trained in the basics of being a lacrosse official. And we don't want to overload you with too much stuff if you're not able to do that at this point. But these are our regular meetings. It's other great training, great way to meet our officials. And as you go through the class, you'll eventually get access to our calendar and all that. So with that, I'm excited to have Chris and Mike do the training. This is our second applicant class kind of for this year. And it's great to have other officials doing this, and I'm excited to see how they will train you. Probably better because I tend to do it a lot, and it probably gets old and stale. So anyway, that's my thing. Let me if you have any questions for me, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm going to let you all go as soon as I figure out how to give Chris back the.
Should be 3 dots next to my name. Just click on that.
3 dots. Next area is our host. So anybody have any questions? Is Matt hearing us yet?
Yeah, I had a minor issue with my I thought my computer was plugged in and it was not, or my headphones were plugged in. I also was watching the CRSS Essential Wrestling match, so I apologize.
Well, let's hear your introduction real quick, and then they're going to start.
My name is Matt Faircloth. Greg's and JP have asked me to try to get into refereeing since the minute I stepped down as head coach at CR. But I still head coach at Fight for Middle School, where I have the opportunity to be able to coach my son and still be able to see my daughter play at the varsity level. So played lacrosse at CR, played in college, played post-collegiate, and coach at CR for a long time, head coach for 5 years. So that's about it. Probably bug these guys once or twice.
Yeah, you're one of the good ones, man. You ask the right questions at the right times in the right way. And, whether we agree or not, we make it through. So I don't think anybody ever had a problem, certainly with you and even with the current staff at CR. That's a program with a good culture. And that's kind of what I speak to a little bit. I think, us being good officials and being able to manage games well and help programs, understand the importance of that culture and how we all work together to give our kids a great experience. So anyway,
Absolutely. And I appreciate it.
If you all don't have any questions for me, feel free to email me anytime. but you are probably in better hands with these two than you would be with me right now. So I'm gonna let you go, and I'll probably reach out to you through them with some more information about meetings, and probably in a couple of weeks, especially if you're going to do DIAA ball with us, make sure we get you all set up and signed up. But I don't want to push the fire hose too close to you yet. So you guys
Awesome.
have a good time. Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Greg.
Excited to have you join us. We'll talk to you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank
And
you.
You're the host now, right, Chris? I can leave.
It appears so. Yep.
Beautiful. Have a good one.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So, since most of you either have lacrosse experience or have officiating experience, we don't need to belabor this. There's a bunch of PowerPoints that we've been asked to show. We can sort of cruise through them. If you have questions at any point, please stop and ask them. You can type them in the chat if you want, or just unmute yourself. There's only 6 of us or whatever here, so we can make this fairly informal. Mike, just jump in whenever I screw up, or if you have something to say, or if you really want to take a slide, we can do it that way too. So we're going to do 3 nights, right? So this is the first night next week, and then the following week, Wednesdays, 7 o'clock. We'll try to finish up as fast and as early as we can. They're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover Rule 4, which is, I don't know, like a third of the rule book. And then next week we'll do, I think, Rule 6, and then the following week Rule 7. And so the best way to, particularly, those that aren't overly familiar with the game, the best thing you can do is read the rule book. If you don't have it yet, we'll figure out how to get you a copy. Read through that, take notes in the book, and then certainly if you can make those on-field trainings that Greg's going to hold this Sunday at Delaware Turf, and then Sunday the 6th or 5th at the Chase Fieldhouse. The more you can get on the field and see how this thing operates, the better. PowerPoints are only going to get you so far. So without further ado, any questions before we start? Again, Greg's going to give you a ton of information about how to sign up and how to do all the arbiter and all that kind of stuff later on. Tonight and next Wednesday and the following Wednesday, we're just looking at stuff from the book and our own sort of personal takes on it from Mike and I. So,
And guys, there should be a like when you look up NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rulebook, there should be a PDF you can download like to your computer or to your phone, and you can look over the rulebook that way as well.
Awesome. And are we going to get access to the app again this year? Have you heard
Yeah,
anything?
but it might be next month when we actually get access to that.
So
huge-
NFHS has an app where you can pull up the book whenever you want right on your phone. It's a fairly easy to use app, but they have to re-up the permissions every year, I guess, to kick people out that aren't doing it anymore. Anyway, all right. So Rule 4, right? It's a lot to cover, as I mentioned. This covers the flow of the game, how to keep the game moving. Those that have played it, those that have coached it or seen it, it's a fast game, right? I have watched my son play soccer now for the last, 2 years at the middle school and travel level. And it's like, let's go faster, right? Anyway. Lacrosse, if played right, is a very fast game. And so in order to be a good official, you need to be hustling and fast and in shape and ready to go. It's interesting to me to watch soccer officials. No offense to soccer officials. I feel like we run a lot more. I'm way more tired at the end of the game than a soccer official is, but no digs against soccer officials. You do a great job. So why is flow important, right? We want to keep the game moving. It's known as the fastest game on 2 feet. We want to keep it that way, right? We want to keep the game moving, keep the kids happy, keep the coaches happy, keep the parents happy. Things tend to get less out of hand the better we do our job and the quicker we do our job. All right. So keep things moving. We want to make sure the players are having fun, right? We want to make sure they're safe, make sure they're having fun. If we're dragging and extending the game longer than need be, they're not going to have fun anymore and things get kind of crazy. We are known as the 3rd team on the field, right? So you have the home, away, and then the 3rd team on the field is the officials. this crew, right, of 2 or 3 officials, sometimes it's 4 or 5 in the playoffs. This good officiating starts well before the first whistle, and that's what this slide is getting to, right? The importance of a pregame, and those that do soccer or basketball or whatever, you can probably speak to this as well. So the way our association operates, typically the referee on the game, and when you get in the arbiter, you'll see who's the R, who's the field judge, who's the if there's a CBO. Anyway, doesn't matter. The referee typically gets a hold of the school and confirms game, time, place, all that kind of stuff. And the crew starts talking either by email or by text, whatever, a day or 2 out. It's good to talk about where you're going to meet, what time you're going to meet, uniform you're going to wear, all that kind of stuff. But it also starts the conversation on teams that are playing, and potentially coaches that you're going to interact with, players you're going to interact with, parents, fans you're going to interact with. So all that stuff starts well before the game. And again, it starts typically digitally through email or a text. Greg, he sort of hinted at this, but consistency, right? We are trying to get consistency on the field so that a game in Sussex County is officiated almost the same way as it is in Newcastle County, right? And so in order to get to that level of consistency, we need to be talking to each other. We need to be working together, come to the meetings, come to the on-field trainings, those kinds of things, meet the other guys. And I don't know if we have any women this year, but meet the other officials and sort of get on that same page. Certainly knowing the rules and mechanics, particularly those that haven't seen or played lacrosse before, understanding the rules, right? This is really, you can't see it, it's all faded. The book is super important in understanding the rules. There's situations in the book that'll walk you through sort of some of the rules and how to officiate them. And the mechanics, which we'll go through on the field. And there's some PowerPoints and stuff we can send you about how this looks on the field. We are hoping if you are in that position of officiating this spring, we'll get you on the field probably on that March 11th, the Saturday. It's a huge day here in Delaware because it's the first day that teams can scrimmage. That's not maybe the first day they can scrimmage, but there's a bunch of play days essentially where you have 5-6 teams coming to a central site and scrimmaging on that Saturday. And so we'll get you on the field for that. And that's where things really click, right? You start to see where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be looking at, those kinds of things. Teamwork and trust, right? We need to be out there. We need to trust our brethren when we're on the field, and that'll take you really far. And you'll find that a lot of the officials in our association are great people, and they are fun to hang out with. They are fun to officiate with. And you'll end up texting them and talking to them outside the lacrosse season, which is really cool. And then obviously the key is communication between the officials, between us and the coaches, us and the players, that kind of thing. So this breaks down sort of ideally how a game should run, right? Delaware varsity, we play 12-minute quarters, 4 of them, so 48 minutes. If you add in all the possible timeouts, that adds 8 minutes. The halftime, the breaks in between the first and second and third and fourth quarters, that equates to about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Then you have obviously goals and going to face-offs, penalty administration, restarts. So in a perfect world, this game should last 1 hour and 18 minutes. You'll have some that run less. You'll have some that run more just because of the way the game runs. If we are slow to do our jobs, you can see there, it can take 1 hour 40. It can take 2 hours to run one of these games. The key is to be moving and hustling. It moves things along. It typically keeps the game safer, and it's just better for our psychology, really, to get through these games. So pregame, as I mentioned, that starts well before you even set foot on the field. Typically, we'll meet in the parking lot. The crew will meet about 30 minutes, if possible, before the game time. Get dressed, get our stuff on, talk about potential situations, what we saw, if we had this team last week, those kinds of things. things to look out for, right? Storms are coming. We want to get this thing in. Where are we going to go if it's going to storm? That kind of thing. Once we get on the field, this is typically the order that we roll in, right? We meet and certify the coaches, and you'll get a little card that says that certification on there. It's essentially asking the coach that they certify their players are equipped according to rule. They say yes, and we move on. Wish them good luck, all that kind of stuff. Then we want to pull out the captains, do the coin toss. And again, if you're working games this spring, you'll most likely be paired with a veteran official, someone who's been doing this a while. You'll start to pick up sort of what they say, how they do their thing, and you'll adopt it and you'll roll right into it and you'll be great. Talk to the captains, do the coin toss. That's something I haven't really done, but is encouraged, is talking to the coach that will run the substitutions for the team, just to make sure that you're on the same page, open up those lines of communication, get a rapport going with them. You also want to meet the table personnel. You want to make sure they have a horn, find out who's running a clock, make sure they understand sort of the ins and outs of running a clock. Sometimes you'll get, particularly by the end of the season, you'll get, the table students, and you'll get to know some of these students really well. They do a nice job. Sometimes you'll get an assistant coach or an AD or an athletic trainer that's running the table. Sometimes you'll get a parent, and it'll be their first time doing this ever, and you'll sort of have to train them up. Again, nothing that you all will need to worry about. It'll be incumbent upon the referee of the crew to really meet the table, talk to the table, get them up and running. Make sure the field is ready for play, right? Making sure the goals don't have holes in them, the nets don't have holes in them, making sure cones are where they're supposed to be, making sure there's no obstacles around the outside of the field that could potentially hurt someone. Once that's all set, there's typically, in some cases, there's not a Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem. Wow. And you get right into the lineup. You'll bring the teams out. Say and again, everybody's got their own different spiel that they do during a lineup. You tend to want to keep it short, get the goalies to cross, shake hands. Then you tell them meet their opponents, right? The attack meet the defense, middies meet each other, and then boom, we're going, right? Everyone starts to line up. There is a whole separate PowerPoint coming up later on tonight about face-offs, so we don't want to belabor this now, but what we do on the field starts at that opening face-off, right? How we conduct our game is based upon, a lot of times, this first face-off. So in the pregame, you'll talk to the face-off guys. You'll tell them what you're looking for. Make sure those lines of communications are open. Line of communication is open. And most of these guys, particularly by the second, third week of the season, they have their deal. They know what's going on. And that meeting with the face-off guys can go a lot shorter. Mike, please interrupt me if you want to add anything.
Nope, you're good. I'll add it if I need to.
Okay, sounds good. So again, that pregame with the face-off, I talked about it. I'm gonna mute you, Jamie, because I got a little bit of feedback. You talk about the speed, the setup, making sure everyone's on the same page. This isn't rocket science. And so particularly those that have coached, what you've taught your face-off guys to do. We just want to make sure everyone's on the same page and we have a nice, clean, safe face-off, get the game started in a good way. Whoa. So in this, not this one, but some of these videos blow up my computer, so stay tuned. So we'll run this one, just have a look at this. So you see the crew's in together. This is most likely a 3-person crew, which in Delaware, we're getting better. We're doing more 3-person crews, but typically we just have a 2-person crew, particularly down here in Sussex County where I am. But in this case, you'll see 2 officials up at the face-off, which means there's a 3rd somewhere else on the field, probably back to their right. And they're gonna do some things here. So I'm gonna let this play. So you can see the gentleman on the right is talking to him. He's gonna start moving sticks. Typically, only the one official is gonna move sticks. The other guy's just sort of there to make sure everything's okay. And before they hit go, I'm gonna pause it real quick. What do you notice? Coach Faircloth, I know, is already noticing some things here on this face-off. So we've had 2 officials come in, look at this, and we still have some things that just aren't right. Does anyone pick them out?
I mean, his bottom hand on the white
Yeah.
jersey is on the line.
He's
I
on the
know.
line. Yep. We had, you saw the guy on the right push the red helmet sort of out of the neutral zone, right? So we want to make sure that neutral zone nice and clear. Make sure these guys are up to the line, not touching it. Make sure the hands are off the plastic of the head, the whole 9 yards. And again, we'll go through this. And it becomes a lot more clear when you're on the field looking at it. Like PowerPoint's only going to get you so far. So he says set, and blows the whistle, and they're going. Unfortunately, he does get the ball trapped in the back of the stick, so he loses the ball, and we're going green. That was a long setup, right? It took a long time to get this thing right. The first week of the season, the kids are still rusty. We're a little rusty, right? It's going to be a little slower that first week of the season, maybe the first 2 weeks. By the second or third week, we should be rolling through these face-offs. And again, we're going to talk about face-offs a little bit later, but the key point here is these guys should be coming down, ready to go. Minimal adjusting going on. You give them a warning maybe in the first or second quarter, and then they're done, right? They come down wrong. It's a turnover, and we're going the other way. All right. After the goal, so say there's red team goes there, or the green team goes down, shoots and scores. This is where things can get interesting, right? So the lead, so he's the guy on the goal line watching things in the middle there. He's going to signal the goal, gets the ball. Usually the keepers are good about handing us the ball, which is super helpful. I want to jog back to the face-off X, right? We never want to walk. It just looks bad. It slows the games down. We want to make sure we're hustling, because if the students and the players see us hustling, they're going to hustle onto the field ideally. It's super important right after a goal, particularly a long set there where kids are tired. They might be getting a little frustrated. You want to make sure that you're dead ball officiating. So that means the play is not going on, right? It's in between a goal or in between a quarter. You want to make sure things are safe and people are white's talking to white, green's talking to green. That's where things can get sloppy there after a goal and that dead ball. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention. Eyes are up, looking around, listening. If you're using a card, most of us use a card to keep track of the score, penalties, timeouts. During the spring season, we should be doing that. We really, really should be doing that. Wait till you get back to the face-off X to record anything you need to record. And then that non-face-off official, usually in a 2-person, they got their hand up, they're holding time, right? The face-off official's looking at this person. He's got his hand up, looking around, counting, making sure everything's set. Once he's ready to go, right, he's going to point to whichever direction he's running. As soon as he gives that go, I'm ready, the field is ready, face-off guy starts, and we're going again. This video, you can see he sort of, and no knock on this guy. Maybe he's tired, had a bad day, whatever, but he's walking back. You can see the face-off guys are now walking back, right? So it just slows that, it sends that whole cloud of slowness over the whole field. And so we want to avoid that. Pick up that ball and jog it to the center so that we're ready to go.
Hey, and Chris, I mean, something to add on to that, especially if there's issues going on, like in between goals or anything like that, the quicker you get the ball back into play, the quicker the coaches, and Coach Faircloth can tell you this, the quicker he's going to go back to coaching his kids and not worrying about the play from before.
Yep.
So, and like the thing says, you don't have to sprint. We're not asking you to get to totally exert yourself, but a nice little jog to get from the goal to lead or get in wherever position you need to get to during the game really goes a long way, and it shows the coaches that you care and value the time that you're doing that. You walk, you kind of go like, take your time doing certain things. They can kind of question whether you feel like you're trained properly, you're making the right calls, you're giving your best effort. If you're jogging and showing that effort, then the coaches are going to appreciate that, and the kids are going to appreciate that as well.
Yep. Yeah, and those that officiate other sports know that the sooner you get the game started, if you screwed up, particularly, the sooner you can get the game started, typically the crowd, everyone calms down a little bit because you've started the game up, right? The longer you wait, the more you're just going to get pummeled with yelling. But anyway, penalties, right? There's been a foul. We've thrown a flag. There's a penalty. This is another time, right, where hustle will move things along and benefit everyone on the field and in the stands. All penalties need to be reported to the table, right? So they write it down, the time, the penalty, all that kind of stuff, what number it was. And we'll go over some of that other stuff later on, how to report a penalty and stuff. But the key here is as someone's reporting the penalty to the table, the other official or the other two officials need to make sure the field is set so that when that guy's coming back out from the table, play is ready to go. It is huge. Like you can waste so much time in picking up flags and getting bodies set, finding a ball, right? So while that penalty is being reported, the other official should be moving things along. Pick up the flags, right? That other official's got the ball ready to go. He's got the player who's ready to go, take the ball. We're saying, keeper, ball is here, ball is here. You're down for 1 minute, down for 30 seconds, whatever the case may be. And as soon as that guy is ready to go after reporting to the table, we're going, okay? Another nice thing to remember here, and again, this is a higher level tactic here, but look at the clock. If there's a clock on the field, right, big scoreboard, the guy goes in at 3:02, he's got a 1 minute slash, you know he's coming out at 2:02, right? You can announce that. He's coming back in at 2:02. A little harder when you start mixing up 30-second fouls, but we're smart people. We can usually figure it out. Yell it out, right? So that gets everybody, okay, it's at 2:02, he's coming back in. In case something gets screwed up at the table, you know you've said it. He's coming back in at 2:02. The timer person, penalty timer, falls asleep, whatever, and the coach is yelling, when is he coming back in? When is he coming back in? You know he's coming back in at 2:02, coach. We're moving, okay? Let's see here. This is the proper restart after a foul. You can see it's been reported. He's got the ball ready to go. The guy in the bottom right here is signaling I'm ready, and they go. Right, so the guy in the bottom right has called it in to the table. He says, yep, field's ready. This guy on the far side of the field has got the ball ready to go. Players are ready to go, and we're moving. All right. All right, so discussion, questions. Yeah, anyway. When you're reporting to the box, to the table, you can't worry about what's going on back there, because typically when you make a call, you have angered at least 50% of the coaching staff, 50% of the players, and 50% of the fans. You need to be concentrating on what you're reporting to the table. Particularly if you're new to the sport, new to the game, you're learning slashes and trips and pushes and holds. Talk to the partner, right? Make sure as you're talking, make sure your eyes are all over the field. Talk, okay, what'd you have? I had blue, number 30, right? He had a push, 30-second. Okay, I'm running over there. And something, Mike, I don't know if I'm sure we covered at some point, but the acronym C as in Chris, note, N-O-T-E, right? So it's C as in color, N as in number, O as in the offense, what did they do? And T is in time, and E is the explanation if warranted, right? If coach says, what happened? What did you see? What did you have there? Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you don't. C, note, right? Color, number, offense, time, and explanation. And that's what you want to do. You want to make it big at the table, C note, right? I had blue, 3-0 with a slash, 1 minute. Coach, he got him right on the shoulder with a stick. We're going. All right. Let your partner worry about the field. He's getting it set up, ready to go, so that we're moving. All right. Let's see, where are we? Hustle after the restart. Let's see what this video does here. So, all right. So it looks like the goalie had the ball in his stick. Red popped it out, right? So it's an interference call. We have a free clear, And so you see the official there jogging the ball up. He's going to bring it across the center line. He's telling the guy, here we go. And we're starting. Right. He didn't sprint, but he ran. Right. And we're going. So that took 15 seconds. Right. Get the ball up off the ground. Makes the call. Yep. We're moving. We're running up. He's not breaking any world records there, but he's moving. Okay. Yeah, see what's happening with the players. They're moving, they're running, they see him running. We want to start, get the ball, and we're going. All right. So from out of bounds on the restart, kids are juiced up. It's a close game, whatever. It's a night game under the lights, right? Girlfriends watching, everybody's all juiced up. They want to go. They want to go. So as soon as they pick up the ball out of bounds, they start running. No. We can't have that. It's not safe. It's not good lacrosse, right? Guy picks up the ball out of bounds, walks it on the line. He needs to be set for a second. He doesn't need to, we don't need to belabor it. We don't need to sit there for 5 minutes, make sure he's ready to go, make sure it's field set. If the officials are ready, the player is ready, and everything's good to go, start it, right? But you can't have kids flying in off the end line or the sideline, whatever, from an out of bounds play running downfield. When you're near the table, right? The box, the substitution box near the table, you want to get those kids in about 5 yards from the box. It's just cleaner. It's safer. In all cases, guys, if there is a goalie that leaves the crease to chase a ball, whatever, we have to give him, according to NFHS rules, we give them 5 seconds to return the goal. NCAA doesn't have that rule. High school, youth, give the goalie a chance to get back up, get set. 5 seconds, right? And so what I'll see is if a goalie's chasing the ball, I'll put my hand up, right? We got an out of bounds, whatever. And I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And coaches will yell at you, come on, let's go. My guy's ready. My guy's ready. You're like, coach, got to wait for the keeper. I would do the same for your keeper and make sure you do it for the other keeper too. Offensive players can't be within 5 yards of the ball when it starts. You can tell them, back away, back away. There's a play on the internet. You can watch the video where it was probably like the 80s or something. It was all crazy. All the guys on the offense get in one huddle, right? You have no idea who has the ball. Official starts, blows the whistle, and the guys just spread out, and you have no idea who has the ball. It's kind of a cool play, but it's kind of dangerous at the same time. So make sure the offensive guys, the teammates are away from the ball on a restart. Defense doesn't need to be 5 yards from the ball anymore. That used to be the rule. Back up, buddy. Give them 5 yards. Give them 5 yards. They don't have to anymore. They changed the rule a few years ago to say he can line up right next to the guy with the ball, but he can't play him until he establishes 5 yards, right? So where's my ring finger? Here we go. So I got the ball here. Defense is here, right up against me. As long as I don't touch him, I can run right with him. As soon as I impede his progress or touch him, then it's a penalty. It's a delay a game penalty, right? And so what he has to do is establish 5 yards. So he can line up right next to him, blow the whistle. He's got to run out, away 5 yards, and come back to play him. Okay. It's hard. It's a hard thing to officiate because you're so juiced up on other things, watching other things that you're like, oh crap, did he establish 5 yards? And 5 yards is, it's big, right? You know what it is. It's a hard thing to keep track of, but you've got to watch for it because it is in the rule book and it is a 30-second penalty, right? So we need to watch that. There it is, right? It can be penalized if you don't create 5 yards. Timeouts along, and this is a weird place to put it, but timeouts along the end line start inside the box. Okay. Most times when we end a play on the end line or inside the box, the ball typically starts outside the box. On timeouts, it starts at the end line. It starts in the box wherever that ball was when they called timeout. All right. All right. So some slight differences in inbound restarts. Quick restarts allowed from inbounds. I don't know what that's saying. Play-ons should start quickly, right? So you have a play-on situation. Hopefully, in most cases, that play-on gets turned off, right? Whoever was offended gets the ball back, gets the advantage back, whatever, and you just yell play off, right? Play on is over. If you have a play on situation, don't belabor it, right? If there's a push, there's a loose ball push, you got to play on, end it. Nothing good is going to happen with that ball on the ground. nothing. End the play, give it to whoever's entitled to the ball, and you go. 5 seconds again. Yep, offensive restarts must be outside the box, in the alley if play stopped in the box, except for the timeout. All right. We're really belaboring this. Offense 5 yards away, defense 5 yards away, or clear path to goal. All right, we can move on. All right, so this is an example of a bad restart. All right, so you see the goal, see the box, midfield is up here at the top of the screen. You have your goalie. The L official is the lead official. The S in this case is the single side official. So this is a 3-person crew. The trail must be, who the heck knows where the trail is? They should be on here if the ball's at the end line. But so we'll hit go. We'll run it a couple times. You see that defenseman never establishes 5 yards, runs into the offense player with the ball, and we throw the flag. I can run that again. He runs, bumps him. He gets a 30-second technical foul. All right. A good restart. Same thing. All right. Blues on defense. Red's got the ball. He runs away, establishes 5 yards, and then gets back into the play to play defense. This is good. It's clean. It's a disadvantage to the defenseman, right? So it just makes more sense to start 5 yards away versus starting right up next to him. But whatever. So you see that was a good scenario there. All right, so we have 2-person mechanics, right? So we have the L official, the lead, and the T, the trail. You see the ball is up top, right at the face-off X. In this case, there was an over and back or something, a restart after a face-off. In this case, he bumps into him again, right? That's a flag. In this case, and watch what they did here, right? The defenseman switch, right? So the guy that's on him now, the sort of bold, the big D, he runs away, and the small D comes in and plays the guy, right? They've both established 5 yards. This is a clean play, right?
And the more you guys see, especially for those who haven't seen the game of lacrosse before, you'll get a general idea of what 5 yards is.
Yep.
And I know a thing that like me and Chris and a lot of senior officials use, because you're allowed to have 4 lawn poles on the field. They're 6 feet in length. So technically, if they're holding it out in front of them, as long as there's space between the end of that stick and the offensive player, that's 5 yards. So that's a good indicator for you guys to use, especially when you get out there. If there's space, if there's not really that space and they kind of like are able to check them right away, that's a good indication that they're within that 5 yards. Do you agree, Chris?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you start to pick it up.
Yeah. The more you see it, the more you'll get comfortable with that philosophy.
Yep. So the next video has bombed my computer at least 4 times. So we're just going to skip that. I think that's why it just crashed right there. So I'm going to fire this back up.
Yeah, just skip that video.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Do you guys still give reminders, even though there's not a 5 yard? You just give them a heads up, or did they just? I don't know. I mean, do they kind of pick up on it, or they? It depends on the program, probably too.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
It depends. Technically, in the rule book, you're not supposed to anymore.
Right.
But in a game management thing, especially out of a timeout, something like that, like a quick reminder, hey, guys, remember 5 yards before they even get there. And it usually fixes themselves. But
Yeah,
if it's like, especially a program that's learning or one team's a lot more skilled than the other, you don't want to create more bad situations for the less experienced team. So, and like you said, like Chris said, we want to be consistent. So in that situation, we would be telling them, give the 5 yards. But if it's like a highly competitive game, it's something like that, I would give maybe a quick reminder coming out of a timeout, like when they're trying to set up something. But most of these kids, especially if they're been playing long enough, they're used to giving that 5 yards now.
Yeah, and exactly right. Again, down here in, well, I don't do much up in Newcastle. I do some in Kent. But down here in Sussex, we have very good teams, but we also have a couple teams that are still learning, getting their bearings. And so I'll do some reminding. I'm not out to get anyone, right? It's cleaner. They'll typically remember it. Like, remember I told you 5 yards? Oh yeah, okay. And so we go, right? I don't want to put anybody in the box. It just slows everything down. They'll learn and they get used to it and it just happens. But yeah, I mean, particularly if you're doing youth, just give them a reminder. Middle school, we're not trying to get people, right? We just want to move the game along and that slows it down. So,
And it usually fixes themselves. Even if
Yeah.
you have to give one, that one fixes it usually for the rest of the game. You usually don't have a second one.
very good. Okay. Timeouts. Anticipated timeout, right? We oftentimes, if you've been around the game, when a timeout is coming. Close games, right? Anytime there's a close game, you can expect a timeout. Last 2 minutes of the half, somebody screwed something up, right? There's an extra person on the field, those kinds of things. We know. So anticipating it, the biggest thing to remember on a timeout, a couple of things. And you'll hear this in the pregame with your senior official is nice and loud, coach, timeout blue, particularly for whatever reason. And maybe soccer guys, this too. Some of these fields are constantly windy. Like, no matter the conditions in the rest of the world, these fields are windy and you can't hear much, right? Lacrosse, March games, early April when it's cold and raw, rainy. I'm really selling it for you guys here. It's windy, right? And so, coach, reminder, nice and loud, timeout blue. I screwed up once, right? We all have these screw up moments. I was at Polytech High School. They had a play called Turbo. Well, guess what Chris did? It's at the end of the game. It's a close game. Coach Gilmore yells Turbo. I thought he yelled timeout. So I call a timeout. Coach Gilmore's like, Chris, that's not what I said. Okay, coach, sorry, but you got to take it now. So do you want it or not? Yes. Okay. So we move on, right? We screw up and just own it. Own your screw ups. But from then on, I knew I'm at Polytech. Coach Gilmore is going to call Turbo. He's not saying timeout. Okay. Timeout blue, right? The biggest thing to remember is where the heck the ball is when the coach calls timeout. Because a lot can happen between the time you hear timeout and the time you can get your whistle up to your mouth and blow it dead, right? A ball can skip a couple guys, whatever. If the ball was over here, right, when he called timeout, that's where it should start. You can't see where I'm pointing, but I'm pointing over here. It should start over there, okay? So try to keep that in mind. If you're on your card, it's got a little field on it on the backside. Mark where the ball is in between quarters, at the halftime, at timeouts. Mark where the ball is, or commit it to memory. The ball's going to start over there, and tell the coaches that. Hey, coach, ball's going to start right here in the alley. Okay, good. What else?
And just the general rule for timeouts.
Yep.
The team with possession of the ball, the team that who has it, can call it anywhere on the field or out of bounds. The defensive team can only call it on dead ball. So like when we whistle play dead, or when the ball goes out of bounds. The college rule is a little bit different, but for high school, you can call it anywhere on the field. So the coach with the ball can call it when his goalie has on the other side of the field, on his defensive end line, or he can call it, of course, in his offensive half of the field. It doesn't matter where, as long as it's in possession of someone's stick for that team, they are entitled to those timeouts.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Another one that's not on here to anticipate, if a team comes out and scores 3 goals, boom, 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 first quarter, second quarter, any time in the game, boom, 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 they get a bunch of goals. You can almost expect a coach is going to call timeout. Now think about something here. They just got 3 goals scored against them. Coach wants to talk to him. He's probably a little angry, right? Tempers, hormones, all these things are raging. This is a phenomenal time to be watching everything, right? Don't mark down the time on your card yet of the timeout. Wait till the teams are separate in their own corners of the field, and then do all your paperwork stuff, talk to your partners, whatever. During that time, right, post-goal, timeout, teams are crossing, things are happening, eyes on guys, right? Eyes on the people, please, because that's when things can get a little hairy. At the end of the timeout, right? Teams are breaking, going back out to the field. Tell them, remind them, coach, you got 1 timeout left. Coach, you got 2 timeouts left. All right. It's just that preventative officiating rapport that we are trying to build with coaches. Stay on their good side. Coach, you got 1 timeout left. Okay. They might ask you what the other guy's got. That's fine. He's got 2, you got 1, right? We can do this, whatever. Remind them what they have. Coach, you are out of timeouts. Okay. You are out. You have no more. They call a timeout and insist on a timeout, it's a penalty, right? So you want to remind them, coach, you are out. All right. Officials timeout. So we are permitted to call timeouts throughout the process of a game. We don't do it much, but typically if there's an injury, right? Something with us is not right. It could be our shoelaces untied or whatever. Timeout, official timeout, we're going to take care of something. In cases of penalties or flags are down, right? We can stop time and talk to each other to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure we get the penalty calling correct. Get together with your partner, talk about it, report accordingly, right? And then start back up. Typically the official that's closest to the table, sometimes it's the lead, sometimes it's trail, reports the penalty in. And then again, make sure someone's watching the field while the other person is reporting. Let me see here. All right. Stalling. Always a fun one to try to put on and keep everyone happy. Typically, this is used when a team is just trying to take the air out of the ball, right? You know this, you've seen this, you've done it on your own fields probably. You're trying to take the air out of the ball, you're trying to kill time. There are certain conditions that need to be met for us to call stalling, right? It needs to be a close game. If it's 20-2, we're not putting stalling on, right? It doesn't help the situation in any way, shape, or form. If we see a situation where it's like, it's getting close, and usually you can start to feel this out. It'll be about 45 seconds of just moving the ball around. We're not going to the goal. Some guys just running back and forth, right? You'll notice it. I give them usually about 30 seconds. My alarm starts to go off. 45 seconds I'm warning, I'm looking. I might start looking at my partner, right? And typically sort of the universal sign, at least for Delaware, is, hey guys, I'm going to try to stand up for this. Hey guys, I'm starting to think about stalling. I'm just going to sort of put my fist up to my chest or my shoulder here. Like, hey Mike. As soon as I do this, he's like, Chris is thinking about putting in a stall call. Okay. So typically we wait till the ball is in the box. Typically we wait till the ball is behind the goal, right? So the kid steps in, you don't want to throw it on right away, right? He might get checked, he might trip and fall back out of the box. Now you got to take the ball away. Wait till the ball is behind the goal and put it on, right? It's one hand up, one hand out. All right. And it's keep it in. He's got to keep it in the box, keep it in the box. If Coach Faircloth might notice this, but I hold my stall warning for a long time. I want to make sure everybody in the place sees me put the stall on. I hold it a ridiculously long amount of time. Some guys will put it on and that's it. I will put it on and keep it on a long time. That's up to you how you want to play it. What else? If they're stalling sort of outside the box, right? A smart team will start moving the ball outside the box and it's getting ridiculous, right? We'll do the shoulder warning and then say, get it in, keep it in. That gives them 10 seconds. They have 10 seconds to get it in the box. Once they step in, it's over. They're in the box. They step out, the ball comes out, whatever. It's illegal procedure. We're going the other way. Okay. Last 2 minutes of the game. If teams are within 4 goals or less, the team that is winning by 4 goals or less keeps it in the box for the remainder of the game. A good rule of thumb for the trail official, right? So that's the guy further upfield. I will stand typically right on the corner of the box or right off the corner of the box. So I can see this line and I can see this line, right? And I know that if that ball or the foot, anything touches that line, we're going to go the other way. The lead official who's down at the goal, little less concerned with that side of, he's got his own line to watch in a 2-person game. In a 3-person game, right, you have your single side official, your trail official, they're watching the lines pretty well and can call that if need be. All right, so big one here, guys, is just to be professional, right? From start to finish. You pull up in your car, you get out of the car, you're instantly recognizable as the official, right? We're the only ones walking around typically in all black, right? Who wears black shoes, black socks, black shorts, black hat, right? We are noticeable, okay? You start seeing parents, good afternoon, how are you? I just try to keep it, I try to keep that rapport, right? From the people at the table to the parents, to the people selling hot dogs, whatever. Good afternoon, good morning, how's it going? That little bit of kindness goes a long way, typically. Not always, but typically. Give the coaches your respect. You will often get respect back. Shaking hands. Understand that they have a lot on the line, right? This is a big deal for them. Whether it's high school, varsity, state championship, middle school, elementary, youth, whatever. Like, these coaches and players and parents have invested a lot of time and money into this one game, okay? Respect that. Yes, we are the ones getting paid to be there. They are not in most cases. Respect that. Treat every game like it's, I'm not going to say like the state championship, but that it's important. And like I said, that last bullet there, if you screw up, own it. Like, it's going to happen. You're going to mess up. It happens to all of us. I was at Cape and Lopin last year and I fell right in front of the bleachers. The whole crowd saw me fall. I got up, I waved it off. Thank you very much. I'm okay. And I'm going, right? It's going to happen, right? So just own when you screw up. Coach, I'm sorry. I messed this up. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And we're moving on. Okay. Now, if the coach is yelling at you and it's like you keep screwing up and it's just eating at you, we have a process for that, which we'll talk about at some other time. But own your mistakes if you make them. And all right, that's the end of that one. Mike, anything to add while I pull up the second one? Or questions from Jamie, Brian, Nino, Matt, Travis? Welcome.
I had one question.
Yes.
So with the restarts, I was just trying to clarify. So they don't have to give 5 anymore, but they can't play them until they do give 5, correct?
Absolutely correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's a hard thing to officiate, particularly if you're used to the old rule, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I played defense in high school, so I was always getting put on ball for the restarts and
Yep.
things like that. So I was constantly give them 5, give them 5. So that's just something new.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, and it's a tough habit to break, right? Those of us
For
that
sure.
Yeah,
Because you put your stick out and okay, at the end of my stick, I have a couple more feet that I can get.
Yep.
But now that okay.
Yeah, and Jamie, technically by rule, if you're playing me on defense and I'm clearing the ball, you can technically run with me within 5 yards
Yep.
to the other side of the field. Just at some point in that time between the restart and you actually throwing a check or anything like that, you had to get 5 yards before that. You could run with me for 50 yards within 3 yards if you want to, as long as you don't make contact. You just have to make that 5 yards and then make contact.
And that's with like body stuff too. Like I can't angle off towards the sideline or something like that, right?
Yeah. So like you can the defender technically can give someone the pass. So like let's just say the easiest way to explain this is like let's just say off a face off, like the blue face off guy jumps. He can technically just open back up to the side a little bit, open up and give a path to the other face off guy to get to the goal. And he's good.
Okay.
because like, and when you look in the rule book, it says like in one situation, like the faceoff guy opens up and gives him that pass to the goal, and the offensive guy goes out of his way to create contact. So like let's just say I'm the other offensive guy, the other faceoff guy, excuse me, and I get that path, but I choose to bump into the blue faceoff guy to try to get the 5-yard delay game foul. There's no foul because I go out of my way to cause that contact because I was
Okay,
given
so
that
it-
pass. So that rule isn't enforced there. Now, if the blue guy opens up and then tries to check me within 5 yards, then yes, that's still a delay of game. But as long as I give a path to the goal and don't create any kind of contact, then I can be within 5 yards.
Okay, and then
You
the
get what I'm
thing that you
saying?
said about trying to draw that delay of game, is that a chains of possession?
Nope, you just keep playing.
Okay,
So if I go out of my way to create that contact, I lose the ball, and blue takes the other way, we're still playing. If the ball
Okay.
ends up on the ground, then it's just going to be a loose ball. And
so that contact trying to force the penalty would offset the 5 yards, and then the defender would be able to throw checks, or would the
Yep,
defender still have to give the 5
because I
yards?
went out of my way to create that contact.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a great point to bring up and a good clarification, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
If it's blatant, I got the ball, right? Mike's playing me. He's running with me, but he's not touching me. I have a clear line to the goal, and I just haul off and like bump him, like trying to draw that penalty. You can turn the ball over, like absolutely. If it's blatant enough, you can call a conduct foul and go the other way, and the guy will learn, right? That'll be an instantaneous teachable moment.
Oh yeah, he won't do it again because then the coach will get on him for it.
Oh, the coach will destroy him. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say thank you for clarifying. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Yep, no problem.
All right. So we have 2 more PowerPoints. These are a lot shorter. The face-off. You've seen it, you've lived it, you've coached it. It's an intense couple of seconds. We want to make sure that we get it right every time. And it's hard thing to get right every time. There's a lot going on, there's a lot to watch. It's about communication, right? And this starts, like I said, in the pregame. You're going to have the meeting, the crew is going to meet with the face-off guy. And in some cases, like Cape last year had 1 face-off guy. 1. That was it. I've seen teams bring out 6 or 7 face. These are all the guys that could potentially take a face-off over the course of the next 48 minutes, right? And so you never know what you're going to get. You want to open those lines of communication. All right, guys, this is how we're going to do it. It should not look any different. Again, up in Newcastle versus Sussex versus Kent, right? This a face-off is a face-off. We got to establish that connection with the face-off guys. You will talk to these guys and work with the face-off guys more than anyone else on that field. So it's important to build that rapport with these guys. You're not out to get them, and they need to understand that you're not out to get them. We're working together to have a nice, good, clean face-off. Get the ball off the ground and move it, okay? We want to do them quick, but not fast. We don't want to go too fast. Things get screwy, coaches get angry, kids get mad, and we've lost the battle. Okay. Yeah, we've done this. We've met with the coaches, we've met with the players. We don't need to belabor that. Yeah, we've done the message. Yeah. And again, you'll pick up the spiel from the senior officials as you do more games. Typically we don't need to do this in summer ball, right? In tournaments, those kinds of things. The spring season, when things are a lot more official, we want to have this. And Greg at our meeting the other night mentioned, we want to do that face-off meeting with the players through the season, right? It used to be do it in the first couple weeks and then you're good after that, or give the coaches or the playoff the face-off guys an option, an opt-out, right? Hey, do you guys want the face-off clinic? No? Okay, we're good. It's still a good thing to do even up until the state championship, right? Meet with these guys. At that point in the season, you've seen these guys dozens, if not hundreds of times. But you still want to establish that connection and get things going. And this is the bottom line, right? This is what we're going to do on a face-off. The ball will be down, right? We put the ball on the ground again. It's not the foot thing anymore. I hated the foot thing. We put the ball on the ground on the line in a fair position, right? So there are some fields where it is a really hard to find a good equal place to put the ball, right? It's going to roll this way. It's going to roll that way. There's a chunk of grass in the middle. You just got to do your best to find a good spot, an equitable spot for that face-off. All right, guys, we're going to go down. Say down. You're going to adjust quickly. If you're adjusting things left and right, heads, feet, bring them back up. Say, all right, guys, you know the drill. Off the line, not touching it, right? Heads out of neutral, everything to the left of the head, hands off the plastic, down. And if they screw it up again, you go the other way, right? You want to line up top of the head to the stopper, what some kids don't even use stoppers anymore, top to stop, right? You want to make sure that those sticks are perfectly even. We don't want to be like this. We don't want to be like that. Perfectly top to stop, out of the neutral zone. For those that haven't done a lot of lacrosse, the neutral zone, all right, let me see if I can do this, is everywhere between my wrists to my fingertips, all right, and out to my hands. That's the neutral zone. So this box in here is all neutral. There's no heads, there's no hands, there's no feet. Everything is out of that clear little zone called the neutral zone. And you can shift guys. A lot of guys will lean in, so their head is in there. You sort of ease it out, head out of neutral. I'm not jacking the guy's head out of the side. I'm just sort of easing him. Hey, blue, out of neutral. If they don't get it, the next time they do it, boom, we're going the other way. Parallel, but not touching the line. Hands touching the ground, right? And these guys have been taught to cheat, right? In some cases. On the other end of the spectrum, you have guys, Coach Fairclaw's laughing there. Don't laugh, Coach. A lot of these guys, though, are beginners, and they mess up and they don't know they're messing up, right? So that's where we can do a little bit of preventative officiating, a little bit of coaching. We're not coaches. We don't want to coach. We want to, hey, all right, bud, this is what you're doing wrong. Here's how to fix it for next time. All right. Again, we're not out to get these guys. We're here to make sure the game is played according to the rules and fairly and safely, right? We're not out here, oh, I'm going to get that 17, right? I don't like the looks of him. I'm going to get him. No, we're here to run a smooth, efficient game. So make sure the hands are on the ground. There's no more motorcycle grip, right? There's none of this anymore. It's one up, one down. Okay. Hands are all the way around the stick. One's not open. They're not touching the ground. Hands wrapped around that shaft. We want to make sure those stick heads, I should have brought a stick. I don't have one in here. Straight up and down, right? A lot of guys will lean in. Yeah, you can lean them back out, fix your stick straight up and down. My hands are not good for this. There we go. We want to avoid any sort of cheating, right? Any sort of not straight up and down. And no more knees on the ground. Can't have your knees on the ground, elbows, those kinds of things. Everything's up. All the players are on their two hands and on their 2 feet. That's it. I will throw in here, particularly at that pregame conference with the coaches. It's usually better to bring up the coaches. Coach, any special situations on students, players that I need to know, right? A few years ago, a certain team had a face-off guy who was partially or mostly deaf in the outside ear, right? So he's down in his face-off position. This ear that was facing the official, he couldn't hear anything out of, right? So you had to accommodate that. Make sure that you understand if these players have any special needs, those kinds of things. And you need to accommodate them, right? We need to be inclusive. We need to make sure that these students have the best lacrosse experience that they can have. All right, what else here?
I had a quick question.
Go for it.
So I one of my good friends, his younger brother is playing high school this year, and you said the hand grip has to be one up, one down on the face-off, correct?
Correct.
I've seen where they're still doing the motorcycle grip by the front, but they're flipping their backhand to fit into that one up, one down rule.
No,
Does
the hand closest to the stick head has to be up.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So the hand closest to the head is up. The hand down to the butt end is down, facing down.
I
Okay.
understand the logic behind that, but by rule, the hand closest to the stick head has to be up.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Good question. We talked about this youth and tournament games. You don't really need to meet with the face-off guys unless you really want to. You know, it's a teachable moment, particularly for the youth crowd. But it's not necessary. So consistency is the key, right? All right, guys, we put the ball down, we're saying down, you fix stuff, set. I usually say, guys, as soon as I say set, no more moving. On the first face-off, I'll try to lighten the mood a little bit, depending on the game situation, and say no coughing, sneezing, laughing, joking. After I stay set, right? And they sort of get a little chuckle, and we go. You blow the whistle, and if there's possession, as soon as somebody picks it up, we're yelling, right? We give the nice big whirl there, and we're saying possession. Some guys like to say white, some say blue, depending on the color. I just possession. I don't care who gets it. The ball's up off the ground, and we're going. All right. Is this a video? Oh, it's fancier than that. Right. We want to make sure that there's no hands on the plastic of the head, fingers wrapped around. You can see his right hand is up. Both guys' right hands are up. Everyone's got the left hand down, wrapped all the way around, and the hands are on the ground. You see, guys, backhand might not be down on the ground. Backhand down, and he'll do it. Right. Want to make sure both hands are on the ground. Sticks up to the line, not touching it. Parallel to the line. This is good, right? You can sort of see here. I wish could I draw it? I could probably draw it if I'm fancy. Right. So we have this space here from his head to his head, and it's a two-dimensional here. That's the neutral zone, right? So in this space, that's a terrible line. In this space, there should be no heads, gloves, anything like that. Feet, knees, nothing. In that neutral zone there. That is a terrible, terrible drawing. All right, let's move on.
Well, hey, real quick, because
yeah.
I had an issue last year with now that I'm coaching middle school, and albeit a outstanding custodian I had who lined my fields all the time. It was a thinner line, so
Yep.
the ref was actually moving it back. So I wasn't sure. And I asked him, I was like, how are you able to judge this? He goes, well, I kind of eyeball it.
Yep.
And I'm like, and I get it through the experience aspect, but I wasn't sure if you do have those, and I actually thought of it when you had that youth game or youth clip up before. If you have those thin lines for a midline or line field, what would you do to be able to, we'll say eyeball it, or how would you judge it?
Yeah. Good question. So best case scenario, right? There's a thin line there. You see that before the game and you say, hey, coach or AD or whoever's around, hey, do you have a can of spray paint? We can fix this line. And you just fix it, right? You build you paint a little square or a rectangle that's a little bit thicker than the midfield line. And you go with that. Now that's best case scenario. In the worst case scenario, you can't fix it. Yeah, you're probably okay. If the line is this big, we need our line to be that big. You're going to back guys up like an inch off the line, and you just do your best, right? You do your best. That's all you can do.
Yeah, because I mean, technically, and I know what you're talking about, Matt. Like, if you have them actually line up on the line, they're actually like literally like touching the ball, which they can't do. So it's kind of like it keeps them from hitting the ball or creating some kind of violation that way. But yeah, you kind of just have to eyeball it. It sucks, but you kind of have to just, like you said, eyeball it and do the best you can.
No, I get it. I was just curious. That was just something that I encountered last year that was definitely new to me, coaching at a little bit lower level.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, and the best I could say, Matt, is just to try to change it for next game, right? It's like, look, we're stuck with what we got. I will try to get paint out here for the next one, and we'll fix it. And if you can't do the whole field in a thick paint, that's fine. Just hit like a, I don't know, 2-3 foot line in the middle of the field that gives you some, because what happens if you just do a little square like that, it's going to wear out in the first quarter, right? Particularly if it's rainy, crappy day. So giving you, a foot or two of line, you can move it around and you can, adjust accordingly. So there's always a good line to see. But things happen. We know this. Wing guys. So this is a fun one. There's for the most part, the wing players behave themselves, but sometimes they don't. And so we need to be ready to officiate that. In a 3-person crew, and even in a 2-person crew, that face-off official has got to be watching, right? And you got to be watching what's going on. Everything from, and you're not going to be able to see the wing guys across the field, whether they're behind the line or not. You have to hope and assume that they are. But you got to, watch your close guys, make sure they're off the line, right? Toes can be up to the line, but not touching the line. You're just watching for pushes and interferences and those kinds of things on these wing players. If it gets blatant, and I have seen some blatant stuff on wing guys, you throw an unnecessary roughness flag on them. Like that's easy. And it's obvious, right? Less obvious are the ones that are like the interferences, right? So say the light blue guy steps in front of the dark blue guy, and just sort of blocks him, right, with his body. He's running, but he's sort of like leaning, or he's doing anything to slow down, to disadvantage the dark blue guy. Play on, blow the whistle immediately. We got illegal procedure interference. We're going dark blue. All right. Make sure that they're behaving themselves. The eyes are certainly on the middle of the field, the 2 face-off guys in the middle, which these wing guys know that, right? They're like, oh, they're watching the face-off. Keep them honest. That's all. Right. So we have, in this case, in this scenario here, that's drawing, we have a situation where there's a guy in the penalty box. And now that I have a pen, I don't know how to make it go away. So we have a guy in the penalty box. So it used to be a rule. Jamie, I don't know if you remember this one. Certainly others that have played a long time remember, you used to be able to bring someone up, right? An attackman or a defenseman up to the face-off line. Not anymore, right? That's gone. If you are a man down, you're taking that face-off man down. And so you see that here, right? We have 1 W right in the box here. So we have an open wing. We want to make sure that our partner knows this. We want to make sure that the players know this, right? Man down, face on white. Man down, face on white. Just so everyone's in the loop. The trouble we get into is if we're in a face-off, no one has gained possession yet, and this penalty expires, right? So technically, he can enter the field because his penalty time has expired. However, on a face-off, he can't release back onto the field until those officials yell possession, meaning someone has picked up the ball and we're going a direction. If the ball is loose and it's a scrum, there's all kinds of chaos, and his penalty expires, he cannot come on the field until we yell possession and wind our arm, okay? And that's why it's important for everyone on the field, like the entire crew, to yell possession and wind it up, because we need to let that person know, okay, it's time for you to come back on the field. All right. This one didn't have any.
Excuse me, Chris.
Yes, go for it.
Hey, so all right, let's say that penalty time does run out and there hasn't been a possession. If that kid comes screaming onto the field, is that a change of possession or is that another flag down?
Excellent question. This is a situation where if you notice the guy comes out, it's going to be another 30 seconds. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong on that. He left early. He gets another illegal procedure, technical foul, 30 seconds.
Because I'm sure we'll have an opportunity where a girl running the box will just yell release and the kid will just come flying on the field.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah, technically, whatever time was left in that penalty, so if it was like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 30, whatever the case is, he is in that time for that plus 30 seconds.
Yep.
Perfect. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, good call. Thank you. I was going to say something else there, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, preventative officiating, right? If you've said, all right, he's in at 3:02, he's coming out at 2:02, and you're getting a face off at 2:05, right? He's got 3 seconds left on his penalty. I would go over to the box and remind everyone, he's not released until we give possession on a face off, just to give that last second of warning there. don't come out until we say possession. All right. Again, it's just sort of trying to prevent a problem down the line. All right. All right. We did that one. Let's see what happens when I push this. All right. What do we do with players behind their? All right. So we've had an issue with the face-off, right? Somebody jumps, somebody sneezes, whatever. Somebody goes early. There's some issue, a hold, whatever. No possession has taken place yet, right? So we still have a loose ball. There's been an issue. All right. In this case, it looks like I think blue is going to get the ball. By this time, again, these guys are juiced up. They leave the box. It is imperative that we put everybody back in the box for the initial whistle after a face-off, because there's going to be guys that want to sub in, sub out, right? There's movement. We want to make sure that everyone's back. The attack and defense are in the box on both sides, all right, until we blow that whistle. And then they can do whatever they want. They can go out of the box, they can change, they can sub, whatever. But if there is an issue on a face-off, get back in the box, get back in the box, give the ball up, and we're going. It's a great animation here. That's cool. All right. When do we just start over? Things have gotten so bad that we just have to do a start over, and that's fine. So a couple situations here, and you will see a lot of these over the course of a season. On a face-off, ball goes out of bounds in the midfield, and the officials don't know who touched it last. All right, so there's been a face-off. No one has got possession. It rolls out of bounds, and we don't know without a positive evidence who touched that ball last. We do a reface, right? We're going back in. We're refacing. Ball comes out, no possession, and I blow my whistle by accident, right? Shoot, we're refacing. If it crosses see the second one there, this one here with the whistle. If the ball crosses the restraining line with still no possession, and I inadvertently blow my whistle, we go to alternating possession, right? And so that's done at the coin toss, choice of goal, or alternating possession. We are going to do that because the ball has crossed the line at that point. It's not a reface. An injury occurs at the midfield area. During a face-off, someone gets hurt, stop it, right? If it's a dangerous situation, you've got to stop play, get that person that's down on the ground attended to. Once they leave, all right, guys, we're refacing, okay? Simultaneous fouls or equal duration while the ball is loose, right? So the ball is loose. I slash the heck out of Mike. Mike turns around, slashes the heck out of me, right? We have a simultaneous foul situation. Simultaneous fouls are one of the hardest things to officiate, and we'll get to this at some point later on, because things get a little dicey. There's locked in time. There's all kinds of things that can happen out of that. But if we don't have possession, equal time, penalties, we're going to reface, okay? And there's only 2 guys up on the face-off from each team, right? Each one has 1 in the box. Official calls timeout before team gains possession. So we have a face-off, the ball is loose. Coach Gilmore yells timeout, but there's no, sorry, I'm picking on Bob, but he's not here. The coach yells
won't tell
timeout.
him.
Yeah, please don't. We have a good relationship. He yells timeout. I say, yep. I blow my whistle, timeout. I'm like, oh, crap. No one's got possession. No timeout. We're going to reface. Ball gets stuck in the uniform or equipment other than lacrosse, other than the cross. So somebody clamps, rakes, and it goes up into my jersey and into my pads and stuff. We got to stop the game, right? It's ball's lost somewhere in this guy's uniform, and we're going to do a reface. All right. Any questions about that? Some of these are rare, right? I don't know that I've ever seen a ball stuck in a uniform. I probably have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But some of these do happen, and you need to be ready for them. All right. Face off, what it looks like when done correctly. Goal is scored, ball has been retrieved, hustle the face off, write down the scores. Let's play this one. Hopefully it doesn't crash my computer. So he comes down, looks good. Do a play-by-play here. I think he dodges and shoots. All right, we got a goal. Congratulations. Signals it, right? Go in, find the ball. Yeah, it's a good point. The single side official there, you saw him. He runs right in the middle of the crowd. This is a huge, particularly on 3-person crews, that single side should be right in the middle of the action when after that goal, right? Because if your presence is felt there, less likely to get tussling, talking, you're hearing things, you're seeing. Be in the middle there. It's huge. Good preventative officiating. Got the ball up, face off looks good, and we're going, right? I talked more than it took to do all that. So, all right, good. We don't need to watch that again. All right, so that's face-offs. Questions about face-offs? Again, a lot of this makes a lot more sense when you see it in action, by far. Close that one so I don't blow up my computer. All right, let's open up. This is the third and final one. We're 8:32. All right, I'll cruise through this one. The goal area, another fun place to officiate. This one's only 13 slides, I think.
It won't take long to get through this.
No, this one's short. Famous last words. All right, the goal area. So much like the face-off, when you are lead official on a goal area, it's hectic, right? Your senses are keyed in to a lot of things going on. It's the best seat in the house, though. I've seen some crazy stuff in there, and it's fun. How we handle this, right, sets the temperature. You've got to have your eyes on when you're down there in the goal area. You have to. There's so many things that can happen. It's so fast. There's so much intensity and, you know, adrenaline. All the things are going on. We need to be ready and pay attention accordingly. And that starts with being in the right spot. So we'll talk about responsibilities, like where people are going to be looking. We'll talk about goalie interactions and talk about play around the crease. And obviously the teams change goals at the end of each quarter. It's a random thing to put in there, but that's all right. All right, so a couple different kinds of people, right? We have the lead, we talked about the lead official. They're looking at the goal, obviously. They're looking at the end line. The single side, this is a 3-person crew, right? So you have 3 people on your crew. They're typically lined up on the other side of the goal, obviously, and typically about 5 yards above goal line extended. That's where I usually put myself, depending on the situation. 5 yards above goal line extended on the other side there. And they're watching the shooter. They're watching the goal at the same time. Then we have the trail. In a 3-person crew, a trail up in that general vicinity is probably okay. In a 2-person crew, like I said, as a trail, I usually put myself right near that corner of the box, okay? And they're watching all sorts of things. They're watching the substitution box. They're watching for over and back. And big time, they are watching the shooter. And this is a hard thing, particularly for coaches and players. You want to watch the action, right? You want to watch what happens to that ball when number 22 lets it go. Is it going to go in or not? The trail can't watch that ball in that case. They've got to watch the shooter, because all sorts of things can happen to that shooter that we need to be aware of and call if there's a problem, right? You've seen big hits after shots. I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of times that is an illegal hit that kid just gets. After he shoots, let's go. He's standing upright for a second and the defenseman just comes through and clocks him, right? That is illegal. We have got to call that every time. It is a safety concern, because guess what? That guy that just shot, right? He is off balance. He's not paying attention. He's going to get hurt. So we need to watch that. The trail has got to watch the shooter every time. And it is a hard thing to learn. You've got to learn that. It's hard because you want to see what happens with the ball, but you've got to watch the shooter. The single side also has some responsibility with watching the shooter, right? If there's a shot up top, like from, a couple yards out from the goal, you got to watch the shooter, right? The lead is in tight. They can see what's going on. They can see if that ball crosses the goal line or not. In tight, right? There's a drive on the crease. Yeah, the single side needs to be watching the ball at the same time. But in most cases, right, that single side's watching the ball, watching the man, and making sure that that shooter doesn't get drilled after the fact.
Yeah, and
Okay.
with you guys, I mean, there will just be just two. So lead will have, like Chris said, watching the goal, making sure it crossed the line or how off the end line. So it's that much more important for the other person that's trail to have the shooter. Even to this day, 12 years later, if you watch me watching the game and I have a shooter in front of me, I can tell you right now, money on it, $1,000,000. I'm saying to myself in my head, shooter, 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 stay with the shooter.
Yep.
I should not be worried about where the ball is going.
Because the
You know,
worst thing that can happen is that shooter takes a shot, he gets clocked, and you as the trail are watching the ball, and the coach is like, or the kid gets hurt. Like that's the worst case scenario
yeah,
because no one's to
you
pay
wa-
for it.
you watch the ball, you look back, you see there's a kid on the ground, and then there's Matt Faircloth staring at eyes in the back of your head.
Just picking
And you
on
had to
that.
explain to
And
Matt why there wasn't a foul there. But no,
I mean, it took me a lot of years to get me in this meeting.
Since he's the one coach I know, he's on here. But guys, that's a conversation you don't want to have because I can tell you right now, you're gonna feel bad and you missed the hit. So hey, talk to yourself during the game. Like I said, I do it. I say in my head, shooter, 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 shooter. That way I do not follow that ball and I stay with who I need to stay with.
Now,
Good.
quick question, because you
Yeah.
have, I mean, you're the trail ref on here, and I know 3 crew refs are a very rarity, especially in here. But I mean, their eyes are all forward anyway, so you're counting like even all sides wise, you're never looking back regardless because you don't want to take the eyes off the play. I mean, you're trying to count 6 bodies in front. I remember before, I mean, this is many years ago. There would be that one ref to be able to look back to be able to count on all sides possibility. But their eyes are always supposed to be forward. They're not necessarily looking back. I mean, I see the shadows for the substitution box and over and back, but I mean, especially in a 2-person crew, you're not necessarily going to put yourself in that position, correct?
No, especially 2-person, you're just gonna watch what's in front of you. Not allow. If I have a couple kids not being so nice to each other, or possibly not being nice to each other, I'm not gonna leave them alone. I'm gonna stay with them a little bit, make sure they separate. But you always want to count forward and have the players in front of you.
Yeah, if in a 2-person situation as the trail, and I see guys, beelining for the box, particularly when they're riding together, they're running together. And there could be something like obviously if 2 guys are coming off, 2 guys are going back on, there could be some issues there. As the trail, I'm going to sort of, and it's hard to do, I can show you on the field. It's hard to do in a chair here, but I'm going to sort of take a couple steps to my left and open up myself so I can sort of see the ball and the box at the same time. It's not easy and you can't always do it, but you got to watch the nonsense that could happen there at the box in a 2-person crew. It's really hard. It stinks. It's amazing how much less pressure you feel when there's a 3-person crew because you're like, there's just another set of eyes and there's just so much more of the game that's covered and viewable as a 3-person crew. But unfortunately, we just don't. It's classes like this. It's people like you that are allowing us to do more 3-person games. We need more people. That's just the bottom line. Once we get that critical mass of people, we can start putting 3 people on a game, and it's just easier and better and smoother. All right, so trying to wrap this up. Goal crease privileges. Obviously, the goalie is protected in there. As long as he's got a foot in the crease, right on that line in the crease, he is protected from a few things. He's not protected from some other things, which we'll talk about. Defenseman who goes in the crease, no, he doesn't get those same privileges, right? And we'll talk about some of that. Defensemen obviously can move in and out of the crease. That's fine. If they have the ball, they can't run into the crease, right? They can carry the ball out, but they can't run into or through the crease with the ball. That is illegal. Only, and this was new a few years ago, probably 2-3 years ago. There was an issue with defensemen jumping in the crease to try to block shots, right? And it's just dangerous. They don't have a throat guard. They may not be wearing a cup. They should be wearing a cup now, according to the rule book. But you had guys jumping in the crease that just weren't prepared to be blocking shots. And so they took steps to add a rule in there that says only the goalie can intend to stop a shot. Now, if you have a defenseman running through the crease and he gets hit with a shot and he wasn't obviously playing goalie, like, yeah, we're not going to penalize that. But if you'll see it, a defenseman will go in and act like a goalie, right? And so that's illegal. Big calls, right? And coach, not to pick on you, but you've probably seen us all make that big, giant no goal call because the guy was in the crease. Now, if I just run up, I blow my whistle, no goal, he's in the crease, like, it's weak, right? This is the Sports Center moment, right? You got to sell it. And so I'm blowing on my whistle, boom, 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 no goal, no goal. He's in the crease, big arms, big gestures. We're going the other way, right? If you see something, you have got to sell that call, because in many cases, right, you're going to call back a goal because he was in the crease, or it's a contested moment. Tempers are running a little bit. You've got to sell that call. If you see it, you got to sell it, right? And the dive rules. Ugh, the dive. Wish we could just get rid of the dive. We'll talk about that in a minute. Goalie interference, right? If that goalie has the ball in his stick, right, inside or outside, if he's standing in the crease with the ball in his stick and I go chop it out, that is interference. It's a free clear. We're going the other way. Okay. If he's clamped on the ball outside the crease, if he's in the crease, his stick is out of the crease, he's clamped on the ball, or he's fiddling with it, trying to sweep it or whatever. No, there's no interference there, right? A attackman can come through, sweep the stick, sweep the ball, whatever, grab that ball. There's no interference there. And it makes a lot more sense on the field. And there's a lot of situations in the rule book that talk about this kind of thing. And so you can certainly read about that in the rule book. Right? A goal, a loose ball is propelled in some way across the goal line. It can be kicked, it can be batted. It obviously can't be thrown with a hand, right? But if I nudge it, whatever, it can go in and it counts. As long as that ball is moving prior to the end of quarter, end of game whistle or horn, it's still active. It's still live. That was a tough transition to make. It used to be that if the goal wasn't in, by the time that horn went off, it was no goal. Now it's, I release the ball, right? Horn goes off, that ball is still in the air and it goes in, it's a goal. And so we as officials need to hold our whistle, because if he shoots, releases the ball, the horn goes off, I blow my whistle and the ball goes in, by rule, that is no goal, right? And you have just taken a goal away from the team, and that is always a bad thing. And so it's a bad thing when you screw it up. And so we have to train ourselves a little bit to not be quick with the whistle on a horn if that ball is being released. And it's a hard thing to learn, but you'll get there. It takes a little practice. A goal does not count when the horn has sounded and the ball has not been released, right? So if I'm back here ready to shoot and that horn goes off and then I shoot, there's no goal. Okay, this is another sticky one, right? So I shoot, right? Ball's in the air, horn goes off, it hits one of my teammates, one of my offensive teammates, and it goes in, no goal, right? It has to have a clear path to the net. It is a no goal. Excellent picture there. Goal is not scored if we have a penalty on the offensive team. We don't have a goal if the scorer's cross is found to be illegal immediately following the goal, right? So I shoot and score. The other team's coach says, I want a stick check on that guy. They check my stick, pocket, whatever, head, and it's found to be illegal. My goal is then wiped away. It does not count, and I go to the penalty box. If I shoot and make any sort of contact, or my teammate makes any sort of contact with the goalie stick, the net, the posts, whatever, it's no goal. The dive. All right. So big, huge differences between NCAA and NFHS, right? The stuff you see on ESPN2, you got guys flying all over the creases. NFHS, high school, youth, totally different. A player may not, under any conditions, land in the crease after a dive and a diving shot. All right. And that goal cannot count. So if I have the ball and I just launch myself into the crease, I shoot while I'm in the air and it goes in and I land in the crease, no goal, right? It's just a dangerous situation at high school and below. College, they're on their own. If I am contacted illegally, right? So I dive and a guy just blasts me or pushes me from behind or whatever. I still dove, but no goal. Okay. Because I do. If I dive and a guy rushes me from the front, it's a perfect hit, all that stuff, totally legal, and it goes in, still doesn't count. All right. It's a turnover at that point. Mike, anything to add to the dive? It's
Really, the wording of it is leaves his feet on his own volition.
Yep.
So the only time really that a goal would count with a player landing in the crease is, let's just say he's right on the crease, gets a feed from one of his teammates, and he kind of like leaves his feet on the ground. He doesn't jump or anything, but kind of like leans and kind of falls into the crease. As long as the ball is in the back of the net before he lands in that crease, that would be a goal, because he didn't jump. He kind of just fell over to get a better angle for the shot. Does
Yeah,
everyone understand what I'm talking about
he's
there?
grounded when he
He's
shot.
grounded.
Yep. And again, this is a thing that happens in split second, right? And so we've got to be on the ball. And it's a hard thing to do sometimes. And you know, if you screw up, you got to shake it off. You had a bad day at work, your significant other's giving you trouble, whatever the case may be, you got to put that stuff aside because you have a game to watch, right? You have to be careful out there. You got to be on your game. You got to be paying attention. And I think that, yeah, that's everything. Those were 3 long PowerPoints. So a lot thrown at you tonight. Hopefully you got something out of it, took some notes, whatever. If you have questions now, we can certainly address those now. If you have questions tonight, you're pondering, right? Tomorrow morning, you're thinking of something, send Mike and I an email. I think we're all on that same email list that he sent the Zoom info for. We are here to help you. We are here to help, because if you're a better official, when I'm on the field with you, you're going to make me a better official, right? So we want to make sure that everyone is working together, the questions get answered. And look, like, I still have questions. I asked a question at our meeting the other night, because there's so many weird situations that can happen on the lacrosse field that there's no way you can memorize them all, right? So we all have questions. Don't be shy about questions. It's a good thing to have questions about this stuff, because it's not cut and dry a lot of times. So any questions right now?
Hey, I always say there's no question's a dumb question.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.